Hey, what's going on, everybody? Got the old Mongo Man out here by the garage cleaning up the old F-150. Yep, that's right. The end of an era has come. Most of you have seen the introduction of the new work truck. So with the new work truck, of course, we have to get rid of the old one. I was called this week and told to get my truck ready for trade-in. So that is what we are doing today. So I figured what better chance to go over the 2018 F-150 with y'all. I've spent 5 years with this thing, 182,000 miles in the seat, and I think I got a pretty good perspective of what it is. About 2 years ago, the truck was sitting right here, and I did a video on it, highlighting what was in these packouts. And now the packouts are coming out of this truck for good. We'll have to make a new plate for the new truck, but this plate, I'm sure, is no longer any good. So if you have a penduliner for an F-150 and want a pack out plate, come and get it. I'll give it to you. This is one of the accessories that I put on it, which was the tailgate shock, which enables the tailgate to do that. That, I think, should be on every pickup truck ever built. One of the other accessories we put on it was that steel plate there behind the third brake light. As everybody knows, the F-150 is all aluminum, so nothing will stick to it. And as you can see there, there is a antenna base stuck up there. KJ's over here tasting his oil coming out of Cliff. What do you think, KJ?
A little gas in it.
Oh, well, I mean. I do have the ram mount tough tray in this truck.
Are you taking it out?
I'm going to end up taking it out, and it'll go in the F3 or in the F250. But I don't know that it'll fit yet because the F250 is supposed to be a completely new truck. Everything in the back seat's been cleaned out. The plastics there are from the passenger side kick panel. Yeah, go ahead and slide it in there. And what that is from, there's a GPS module mounted up underneath of there that was under the floor at one time. And when it was under the floor, when I washed the truck out, it got wet, shorted, and was causing all kinds of problems. It had shut the can down on the truck, and I didn't have any power steering. It wouldn't shift right, all kinds of problems. But they got it fixed pretty quickly, and now we were back on the road. All right, so yep, we are headed down to Rowdy's Wash in Wellsburg, West Virginia, which is the official car wash of Mongo's Garage, as everybody knows. We're going to blow the inside of this thing out real quick and get it taken care of. But I also got to blow the bed out. There's a bunch of debris back there that we got to get out of there and clean it up. It's a oily mess. But other than that, I wanted to go over a couple of the things that the F-150 has been and hasn't been over the years. Right now, 182,503 miles is what's on it. Probably will get maybe another 100 or so before I turn it in there on Monday and get a temporary before we get the Super Duty. But over those 182,000 miles, I have put just about every one of them on it. I can't say I've put every one of them on it because it has been serviced. It has been run back and forth here and there. But I would say probably with certainty that I've put 182,000 miles on this truck for sure. Over the years, I've got the truck in April of 2018, and when I did get it, I seem to remember that it had 10 miles on it. We will document how many miles the Super Duty has on it because I'm going to do a walk-up and a first impressions video. But this has been quite the truck for me. Over that time, the things that have gone wrong with the truck, shortly after getting in it, I don't know, it was probably somewhere around 46,000 miles, I believe it was, we ended up losing a front wheel bearing. I believe it was the right front, went bad pretty quick, but that was changed under warranty. We didn't have any problems. Next thing to go, around 80,000 miles, was the transmission. This does have the 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6 in it, twin turbo. As well as that new 10-speed, and it was a new 10-speed back then. The truck shifts pretty good most of the time. There are times, though, that it'll give you a real jerky shift, and here recently, I think the transmission is probably on the way out again at 182,000. When you put it into reverse, if you don't give it ample time to actually get into gear, it'll slip a little bit and it'll carry on, and it's starting to get a little more jerky at times in the shift pattern. Yeah, that probably would be a deal breaker for most people, but for the most part, the transmission has been perfect. Other than, and actually when it went out, it didn't strand me. It was just doing some really weird stuff. It would get into like 7th gear and then go into neutral and not come back from there. So yeah, some kind of strange things were happening with it. Other things that went wrong with it, I think right there somewhere around 90,000 miles, they did put a full set of brakes on it. It's only had one set of brakes on it in its entire life. It has, however, worn out 4 sets of tires. So it actually has the 4th set on it right now. And they were just put on it not long ago, so they've got quite a bit of life left in them. If you go with 4 sets, right now it is at 45,000 miles per set of tires average, which isn't terrible. After the transmission there, the only other major problem that I've had with the truck was actually here recently. The shop had put a Verizon GPS onboard camera and GPS system in it, and it has a gateway module that actually interconnects into the can of the truck through the ALDO. And the guy that had installed it under the floorboards. And I've always been a guy that I'm not afraid to power wash the interior of a truck out. And some of the places I go, like here recently, I was just down to a stone facility there and got limestone dust all over the interior of the truck. So cleaning that stuff out of it, I had power washed it, and well, let's just say that gateway module doesn't like water very well. And when it failed, it actually brought the entirety of the CAN circuit down in the truck. So I didn't have power steering. The transmission was shifting really funky. The engine was running, but it had multiple codes, and it wasn't very happy. It didn't take Ford long to find that. Obviously, once they got into it and seen that the CAN circuit was down, they went looking and found that gateway module and quickly remedied it. So now the gateway module is over on the passenger side kick panel there. You saw earlier the plastics that they never put back are still in the back of the truck here. So when it gets really cold out, the doors won't close. So there's something going on with the locking mechanisms with the latches that when it's really closed, you can close the door and it will not latch. I've tried heating it. I've tried really, really lightweight oil, PB Blaster. The only thing that seemed to work was that you got to keep them clean, so you can't have a lot of gooey oil in there. So I would spray them out with brake clean every once in a while, and then I would lube them up with a really lightweight, what was that stuff I was using? It wasn't 3-in-1 oil, but it was something similar to that, but really lightweight. The other things I don't like about the truck, the driver's seat, of course, I mean, it's not really that I don't like it about the truck. It's just, I think it's kind of what happened. This is the second seat that's been in it. I'm a big guy. There's no doubt about that. In 82,000 miles, I wore out 2 seats in the truck because this one absolutely 100% needs replaced again. When they put the transmission in it at 86, they had replaced that driver's seat for me then, and it was nice for a while. But again, you know, over the years of operating it and running it and driving it, I beat the seat up again, and you know, it needs to be replaced once more. Again, not to say that I don't like that about the truck. That's just normal wear and tear. I've been told that the passenger seat is very uncomfortable. I think I rode passenger in this truck one time, and that was just on the farm with KJ. I think he moved it, and I jumped in the passenger seat. Especially with the ram mount in here, that takes a lot of room away from the passenger as far as your left leg. My brothers that have rode with me, Rodney, of course, is 6'6". He definitely said that you know, it kind of cramps you up, doesn't give you a whole lot of room. And then you can't push the seat all the way up because it hits the ram mount, and that really does lessen the room in the back seat. We have used the back seat there a couple years ago. Kenny's ex-girlfriend used to run around with us a whole lot, and she would be relegated to the back seat. She was just a little thing, but she said that back seat wasn't very comfortable either, and I can understand that because it's just there's not a whole lot of padding there. So, but there's been a whole lot of memories with this old truck, running back and forth. Essentially, I've had it for the last 5 years since KJ was 14. Sissy would have been 16. So, we've done a lot of things as a family with this thing. I've done a lot of work out of this truck. Obviously, with the Ram mount set up in here in the CB, I do a lot of traveling, 182,000 miles, like we said. I've been all over my territory, which is all over Pennsylvania, the 5 boroughs of New York City, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia, a couple counties in Ohio. And then I've made several trips into the deep south with it to get things done. It's been, I think my furthest trip was a 22-hour jaunt that I did in one sitting, believe it or not. I did not get out of the seat. I drove all the way through 22 hours. Now, of course, once I was done, I turned around. I drove about 15 minutes from my destination, found a room, and passed out literally for, 10 hours or something before I got back in the seat and started headed back. It's time to move on to another one. Like I said, the guys at work, they don't like to get them much past 160, I've been told. And that was right about when we had decided to place the order for the new truck. So that new truck is in. You guys have seen it, and we will be getting it very shortly. Right now on the display, it's reading 19.1 miles per gallon. It was averaging for the longest of times. I was in the 20s, 21. Right now we are in southwestern Pennsylvania, of course, and we run a winter formulated fuel that really does screw with the fuel mileage. Well, there's 19.3 on the second trip meter. But I did just get off of a really long trip that saw improvement on both of those, of course. And I didn't reset that trip meter before I left. I wish I had, but I did not. So right now, just looking through here real quick, the truck has 5,765 hours on it, and of that 576, 1,402 are idle hours. So it really didn't, well, that's what, a fifth, I would say, just a little over a fifth, 20% of the time that it was running, it was idling. I did tow a trailer with this thing for a little while. I think it's probably about 300 miles with the trailer, is what it told me there the last time I had a trailer hooked to it. And when I say I had a trailer, I had a boat hooked to it a couple times. I had, what else have I done with it? I did haul a truck with it one time from about 2 miles from the house, and I don't recommend doing that with a half-ton aluminum Ford. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't by any means was it kosher. It did it fine. It had plenty of power, had plenty of stopping power. Of course, the trailer had brakes, but like I said, I don't think I would recommend doing that. If you're going to tow something, get the right truck. So as far as the pros of the truck, what I really like about the F-150, of course, for me, is the driver's position. It gives you a really nice upright driver's position. I can see, I have good visibility all the way around. One of the other pros, of course, is the power. This little 2.7 has got great power. It's never let me down. It did take some getting used to. This does have the auto off, and I have not disabled that. I left that alone. It took some time to get used to that, but now that I'm used to it, it's just another feature on the truck, you know what I mean? You want the engine to run, you just lift your foot off the brake a little bit, that's all. I've not gotten into trouble like in traffic or anything where I needed to get out of the way and the engine wasn't running. Everything, it's been really good that way. I really like the way the truck looks. It's got a really good stance, a really good look. It rides better than I had a big Lincoln town car, and I literally think this truck rides better than that town car did. The town car kind of floated down the road, and I'm not much of a float ride guy. This has more of a, it's not a truck ride, that's for dog on shore. This thing does not ride like a truck. Not like the trucks that I'm used to, right? The bullnoses and the square bodies and things like that. This thing definitely rides a lot better than that. And I'm interested to see how the F-250 rides once we get it on the roads. Fuel mileage, I think, is a pro on this because of the right now, like I said, 19.3 is where it's sitting. But I've had it as high as 23 on a couple of those really long road trips where I was just putting along at 55 mile an hour. Yesterday and this past week, I've been going quite a bit faster than 55 because I wanted to get back home. Got plenty of stuff to do. And actually, now I'm running down here to Wellsburg. I got to be pretty quick about what we're doing because I've got stuff that I got to get to this afternoon. The F-150 in itself, this platform, the F-150 platform, because it is so popular, there are so many accessories out there for it, like the RAM mount for the laptop, all of the things that the company did. They've got the WeatherTech floor mats in it. They've got the tonneau cover. What else did they do to this thing? I think it has aftermarket mud flaps on it. But all that stuff, it's made to fit the truck, and it really does. It's all worked very well. What I've done to the truck as far as damages and things, I don't know. It was probably around 40,000, 50,000 miles. I actually backed into a pole, talking on the phone, trying to pull out of a parking lot. And I didn't see it, even though it has the rear view camera. That's the one thing that I don't like about the truck is how small the screen is for the rear view camera. But I backed right into a pole, and because of the design of the tailgate, it not only did it biff up the bumper, but it hit the top of the tailgate and screwed it up too. And then we had the tailgate and the bumper replaced. I would say probably a year after that. I had the tailgate down, and of course with the tailgate down you lose the ability to see it with your backup camera. I ran into a set of forks and put another little divot in that gate. But the paint on that gate that they repaired is actually peeling off at this point in time. So the repair, and I'm sure it was some type of water-based paint. It wasn't obviously the factory paint that's on the rest of the truck. So it did not hold up very well. All right, that's done. That is likely the last trip that this truck will take to Rowdy's Wash in Wellsburg, West Virginia. So the techs at H&K Equipment are the ones that have serviced and maintained this truck its entire life, up until the very last PM here that we just had done. We actually sent it out and had that one done. But it has had 30 oil changes over its life, at least 30, maybe a couple more than that. Like I said before, it's had 4 sets of tires. That includes the original set that was on it all the way to the set that's on it currently, averaging about 45,000 miles a set. Now that average is going to do nothing but go up because the tires that are on it right now are like brand new. From there, like I said, any of the other services or anything that it needed to be done, usually it would go to Ford. Like for the transmission, it went to Ford to get that done. But for brakes and things like that, we did that in-house at our facility. I have really enjoyed the truck over the last 5 years. It has never let me down. Never left me stranded. Even when that gateway module went down and it took the CAN circuit down, I still drove it back to the shop without power steering. And let me assure you that The electric power steering in these trucks, when it goes out, it goes out. There is no steering, no assist at all, and it's very hard to steer this truck when that happens. So, but it can be done. I proved that. I did it. I drove it back. It actually failed on me up in Monaca, so it was I don't know, a good 30 miles from the shop. But we got that taken care of, got it taken back, and they quickly, like I said, remedied the problem, and we were able to take care of it. The 2.7 liter, I have always been a proponent for it. The only problem that I ever really had with this engine was if I let the truck sit for 2 weeks, if I let it sit for 2 days or more, that first startup would be really smoky. And what I think was going on there is over time, I think those turbos were draining oil into either into the exhaust or into something, and it would allow the engine to smoke pretty good. But it does kind of rattle a little bit now, depending on when you start it. If I were to get home after this trip and leave it sit there for a second, shut it off, and then start it, once it comes to an idle again, it rattles a little bit. But I do believe the 2.7 is a dual overhead cam engine, so there's going to be chains and tensioners and stuff in the front of it. None of that stuff has ever been touched in this truck, as far as any maintenance done to that. So I'm sure it's probably due. If judging by, let's say, a 5.4 or a 4.6, the chains and stuff on those, if this were a 5.4 at 182,000 on the original set of chains, I don't think that's the case. I don't think you're going to get there. But this one has. Other than the doors not locking when not closing, locking, that's actually the only way you could get them to close, is if you had locked the door right before the striker engaged. That was the only way to get them to actually latch in that super cold weather. But other than that, and the seatbelt. I wanted to talk about that real quick. This seatbelt is a major pain. And what happens is it doesn't fully retract all the time. And so when it doesn't fully retract, it will actually dangle around down there and gets in the way of the door closing. If you were to look at the door jamb, you can see where the seatbelt's been stuck in there a bunch of times whenever the door was shut. It's got it all beat up. But other than that, the truck's been almost perfect for me. I really can't complain about much of anything on it. Appearance-wise, it's definitely kept up. It's looked good this entire time. There were portions of time where, because I was maybe a little lackluster in taking care of it or washing it, that it didn't look as good as maybe it should. But I've had a lot of people ask me, how on earth I keep the truck looking the way that I do. And it's just a matter of caring a little bit about, what you do and what's going on. The interior, because of the long trips that I go on, it does get, it does get pretty dirty in here. And I just will come through and give it a good cleaning. And the truck's only been detailed once. I had them detail it whenever they put the transmission in. So when I got it back from the transmission job, it was doggone near a new truck. The interior was nice. The transmission, of course, had just been replaced, and it was a really nice truck again. But right now, it's going to need a steering wheel. This steering wheel is all, I guess it's out of shape. Apparently, I put my hand specifically right around 1 o'clock on the steering wheel because I can actually feel the grooves from my fingers, where it's worn the steering wheel out. I'm surprised that this door panel isn't more worn than it is, because I always put my left elbow right there on the door panel, and actually on the long trips like I just came off of, eventually that arm starts to hurt because it sits there like that, and I have to change position. The seats wore out twice. We talked about that. The back seats rarely ever get used. They usually stay in their stowed position, like you can see where they're at right now. But if I had, my major complaints, of course, are the doors, and then the size of the screen that's in this thing, and the hands-free phone. The lady that you talk to when you press the hands-free phone, she's, let's just say that the lady that does all your hands-free connectivity things, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. She asks you a lot of questions that I don't feel are necessary, and her pronunciation of a lot of the names in my phone are humorous, to say the least. Like my wife's name is Cheryl, she calls her Churtle. So it is what it is, I guess. We'll see if Ford got any better with Sync 4, which is what's in, I believe that's what's in the Super Duty that I'll be getting. Yeah, that's about it. Just would I buy an F-150 with my own money? I forget what this truck was new. I think it was just over 50, just under 60, somewhere in that range. And if I had to go out there today and buy this truck new, knowing what I know about this truck, I would say I probably would. Even with the one transmission, it has been pretty spot on. It's got plenty of power to do what I want to do with it. Now, that's not to say that we're going to go out there and we're going to haul a Clifford home from Hershey. You know what I mean? This truck's not meant to do that. This truck is meant to, maybe throw a boat on the back of it, maybe a little trailer with, the lawnmowers or something on it like that. Of course, load the bed up. I have had quite a bit of loads in the bed, and it's done well with that stuff. So yeah, I think I probably would go out and buy one of these with my own money, given the need and given the opportunity to do so. Would I keep this truck? With 182,000 miles on it, of course, the seat's well wore in. It knows where I sit in it, and it puts me right there every time. But it's to the point now where I think it's going to start nickel and diming the company, and that's really why they're looking to get out of it as quickly. Well, not as quickly, but looking beyond it now. I believe it's going to need another transmission soon. It has been popping up an engine light telling me that there's something going on in the engine, and I think that's an O2 code. It's like I was saying, I think the chains are going to need to be replaced soon because of the maintenance, and I just think it's time to get out of this as a truck that you're depending on every day. Something that I can jump into and drive 2,000 miles in a week and that sort of thing. I think that we're beyond that at this point. It's to the point where, it's going to start costing us money to be able to trust it. If that were the case and I needed a truck to do that, I don't think I would keep this. Now, if I was just driving back and forth to work and not using the truck and, kind of babying it, yeah, this truck has, the body in it is doggone near perfect. There's a couple little dents here and there. There is no corrosion to speak of whatsoever that I could see on the aluminum. There is a little bit of paint coming off the front of the hood, and like I said, that paint is coming off the tailgate. But the frame itself, as far as the undercarriage, now I do try to keep it clean, try to keep the salt off of it. It looks good still, but it's not perfect. So it's starting to show its age a little bit. And this is southwestern Pennsylvania, where older stuff will rot away if you don't keep it clean. But if I were in a situation where I needed something to drive back and forth to work and get decent fuel mileage, but still wanted a truck, yeah, I'd keep it. I think with a minimal investment, even if you had to, right now you don't have to put a transmission in it. I think it'd be fine for a while yet. But eventually it is going to need another transmission. And the what am I thinking? The body and the frame and everything's in good condition. I think that if I were to keep it, I probably would go ahead and treat the frame with something, probably just paint, because I don't like any of that other stuff that's out there on the market for it, because I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be worth it to me. Just get some good old-fashioned Rust-Oleum black paint and get it on there. That way, it's not rotting away on you. But yeah, I think short term, if I was looking for something that I just needed to puddle jump around, I absolutely would probably keep this thing.